Lenny Van Gilder with Jude Young. It's our first NBC Bank weekend preview, brought to you by First NBC Bank, with 35 locations through Southeast Louisiana and into the Florida Panhandle. First NBC Bank, a proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. Ken's still out on assignment. He'll be back next week. So, Jude in again, and we're finally about to actually see some football in terms of players on the field with Saints training camp now. Less than a week away, dog days of summer, just about beyond us, and really into football, and obviously in the college end, we've got media days and preseason polls and those kinds of things going on. But actually seeing players on the field with a football, maybe even with pads on, it's basically just a few days away.
You better not be lying to me, Lenny, because when I turn on television and I see video game football tournaments in prime time, I know that we really need real football very soon. And you're right, it's coming, and we're seeing media days, and we're seeing important, as far as fans getting excited, media polls on where teams should stack up going into the season with preseason projections for conferences. So college is coming. We know the NFL's coming in the week with the Saints starting training camp and ramping things up. So looking forward to that. And it's at the point where, just like you, if you're enjoying your summer, you rest up as much as you can. You go on assignment, things like that, and then you get ready for football, which we're happy is right around the corner.
We are, and of course, we're continuing to talk football. Our prep football previews continuing at SportsNola.com daily as we count down to the high school football season, as well as what's going on the college and pro. And back to colleges for a minute, mention the media days. The news out of Big 12 media days earlier this week that now all of a sudden expansion is back on the table, apparently a reaction to the new ACC ESPN network that was officially announced on Thursday, and the grant of rights extended by the ACC members to 2036, which basically means no one's leaving that league for the next 20 years. So if the Big 12 is going to expand, they need to probably strike now, and could be 2 teams, could be 4 teams. Who could it be? Ed Daniels with a piece Thursday morning at SportsNola.com, kind of evaluating the Tulane situation. But as you read the national pundits out there, Tulane, if you want to put it in horse racing parlance, could be that live long shot in the equation.
The funny thing is that Tulane has so many advantages against a lot of the schools that are trying to get into a Power 5 league now, since there appear to be openings. But the one advantage they don't have is timing. The timing of, are you winning right now on the field? Tulane is not doing that. Somebody like Houston doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about TV markets and expanding your base and trying to sell a potential Big 12 network, but they have been winning, and they have a much more consistent history of doing so on the field. So the Big 12 has to consider them. Maybe Tulane could be somebody to think of if the Big 12 goes in stages with their expansion. We're hearing they may end up with 14. They currently have 10, so they could go 2-2 over a certain period of time, and maybe the Wave will be in a better position under Willie Fritz's leadership on the field to have a chance to be in that number. But right now, even though much more of a commitment has been made to winning, Lenny, as you know, building the on-campus stadium is important. I just don't think that even long shot, it'd be a wasted bet. You'd be better off throwing your money down on something else of a long shot, they go to the roulette table or something like that.
The lottery is, Powerball's $370 million or something like that. So if we're looking at live long shots, that's beyond live, I guess. Though I don't know. On the baseball front, of course, the boys of summer continue. The latest hometown heroes up at SportsNola.com. Nick Goody, what a tough break. He's pitching well for the Yankees, gets back up, gets caught up in a numbers game. He's back down in AAA now. And you can read about all of the local heroes, of course, and see what they're doing at SportsNola.com. Are we on the verge of an Alex Bregman call-up? Perhaps. More locally, though, the American Legion State Championship gets underway Saturday at Kirsch-Rooney. They'll play on through the middle of next week. So a chance, if you do want to go out and get to see some baseball, some pretty high-quality amateur baseball going on at Kershaw in the next few days.
That's right, a chance to watch important postseason baseball right in your backyard if you want to check out very well-coached teams vying for something, where whoever wins that tournament, you can watch them in a national tournament trying to go for a summer national championship. So that's awfully exciting. And back to Major League Baseball, people like Nick Goody, they have to wait and see what happens with teams like the Yankees in the major leagues. The trade deadline at the end of this month. So we're talking 10 days away. That could open the door for some of those Louisiana hometown heroes in the high minors looking for their chance to get in the big leagues or back in the big leagues when you're somebody like Goody. So pay attention to that, and we'll have that in our Hometown Heroes updates the next 2 weeks so that you can know who to watch who may be new to the big show.
Very possible that you see some guys get call-ups as a result of maybe getting traded to another franchise, or some spots open up and they get a chance to be promoted as well. An awful lot of guys sitting one step away from the big leagues, including Goody and Bregman. Lastly, basketball, the Pelicans making official what we've known for 3 weeks now. Their free agent signings finally officially announced on Thursday, and it was interesting. You look at social media, and the Pelicans are suddenly acknowledging what had been out there for weeks now with some of these guys coming to New Orleans. Langston Galloway tweeting about coming to New Orleans 2 weeks ago, and the Pelicans suddenly retweet it because, well, they can now because he's actually signed on the dotted line.
Well, the reasoning for that, for those who are wondering, it's about sequencing with signing players and giving themselves more time this month to potentially trade away other assets who are taking up salary cap space to fit everything in and provide maybe some flexibility moving forward to continue to add to the roster. But here's what we think we know. Alvin Gentry in an ESPN podcast recently saying that they don't expect Tyreek Evans to be ready for the season. Knowing that other teams are quite aware of the situation, they couldn't move him now even if they wanted to. We look at their two big men, Alexis Ajenka and Amir Asik. Those guys are now contracts that aren't bad in the current NBA, although people were scratching their heads somewhat when they signed back with the team last year. Obviously, now's not the right time to move them either. So the Pelicans can bring in these free agents as they've done and add them to the roster now and then see where they're going moving forward now since they've given themselves enough time to deal with the early NBA offseason.
See, football, baseball, basketball. We got any hockey to talk about? No. They are playing again in Shreveport, by the way, bringing a pro team back there, but that's for another day. That is our First NBC Bank weekend preview, brought to you by First NBC Bank. 35 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana and in the Florida Panhandle. Check them out at firstnbcbank.com. Jude, thanks for sitting in for Ken, and when he gets back from assignment, Ken and I will be back here in the First NBC Bank studios.
I'm more than glad to have had the opportunity to fill in, and I hope that the on assignment does not include a sunburn.
Let's hope not. For Jude, I'm Lenny. We'll be back on Monday to recap the weekend.